Cool.
Nice. That worked out pretty perfectly, I gotta say.
It actually did work out really perfectly.
So TY versus Leenock. Okay, so we're at this point now. Fricey, I hope you're still listening, bro. We've got Leenock and TY playing right now. After this, whatever we cast is yours, dude. You want us to cast whatever little foreigners are left, we'll do it. You want us to cast a TvT with Koreans that we can't watch, we'll do it. Again, the only exception here, the only thing that's like an asterisk is we cannot cast anything that ESL is casting. They have priority over us, and we're not allowed to be in the same lobby as them. So, take a look at the brackets, man. Start finding players you really like. If you want us to cast Maru, I'm going to spam him till he puts me on ignore with invites. I'm going to start messaging Innovation. Whatever you want, bro. I can't think of any. Nobody else has ever gotten to do this. I know it's not worth $1,000, but I don't know how to say thank you better than that. So I hope that's good enough, man. We are getting into game number 1, though, of a brand new best of 3. Still going on with the IEM Qualifiers. Top right side of the map, we got the Zerg player. It's Leenock.
In the bottom left, as the blue Terran, is TY.
I'm going to tell Fricey's chat as well.
Okay. Well, it's Overgrowth, and we have been seeing mech from some of the other Terrans in Europe. We also saw some bio from Kelozur. Honestly, I could see TY doing both and succeeding with both. Even though mech didn't look that impressive in the European games that we cast, I do think that might be just... Like, I don't want to say, like, the Europeans are worse, right? Like, that's... that's not 100% true, but it is the case that I think, for whatever reason, even though foreigners tend to be, like, adapting first to new situations and getting, like, the build orders down and the compositions down, and then the Koreans perfect it, the Koreans usually do perfect it, right? And TY has always been one of those Koreans that will do mech, bio, weird tank pushes, proxies. He's not, like, entirely a cheeser, but he does it, and he's been really good with mech in the past, and just getting, like, flashbacks on Overgrowth especially.
What's that? We're getting flashback? He's coming back to StarCraft 2?
Oh, I was like, no one's saying flashback, you idiot.
You idiot. No, we're getting flash back.
Anyway. It is not going to be mech, though. I mean, Overgrowth was a mech map, but, like, all maps are mech at one point in Heart of the Swarm, so that doesn't say very much. It's going to be 2-1-1. I would love to see TY pull out mech. I really hope he does, in, like, whether it's, like, a week from now or a month from now. But also sticking to your guns, the 2-1-1, obviously works. We saw that with Kelozur.
Well, you know, actually, thinking back to TY, for a small period of time, like, I know Innovation was doing it more towards the end of the patch, but also, like, there was a period of time where both Innovation and TY were busting out mech in the old patch of the game here and there. So yeah. What I love knowing is, like, you do have somebody like TY who is experienced with it. Maybe it's still not preferable. I mean, watching Kelozur's games this morning, bio seems a lot better versus Zerg right now than mech does, frankly. That being said, if this guy pulls out mech, I mean, it was during Homestrike. It's going to be bio, by the way, 2 pairs. But I think it was during Homestrike Cup, TLO had said something along these lines, right? Like, he doesn't think mech is great, but people like Innovation and TY can pull it off. And I think that's always going to be the case. They're just that next, like, echelon of Terran.
It's accurate. And I do hope to see it in this tournament today, but maybe we'll have to wait a little while they still flesh out how mech's going to work against Zerg. Because, of course, mech didn't look that great, but I do think it was just like a case of, like, it's too few people to be like, okay, well, mech is obviously bad, because we saw 2 players try it and fail with it. Like, it's actually not the end-all be-all. But it is a case that mech, well, you know, it had its upgrade. You know, the mech, the tank is different. I guess the Liberator is different too, but tank mostly. Zerg also got these upgrades that are really helping them out. Like, the added range to the Hydras is surprisingly important to getting, like, the better concaves and just, you know, engaging that, like, second earlier. Roaches get obliterated. Like, that's, like, good news. You can't really go mass roaches against mech anymore, but the Hydra change has added in a little bit more.
Well, Overgrowth is a map that I kind of forgot has gold bases on it too. Curious to see if we'll see those get taken or not. But bio, going back on this point, like, about what's at hand, I really like bio for a lot of reasons when you're playing Roach Hydra, and part of this was back in the day, if you had mech, if you had air, like, it was questionable how you took engagements. Bio, which is nice, with paired up with medevacs especially, it's a lot more about just getting massive amounts of unit. Your macro really shines through, I feel, when you're playing Bio opposed to mech, and people like TY who just have absolutely fantastic macro, they're going to stand the best chance in those scenarios. Now that being said, it's not Hydras and Roaches off the bat, it's Lings, it's Banelings, and we might see it come down to some drops even with some Overlords here on the left side.
Yeah, I think this is the first time that we've been seeing Bio versus Ling Baneling in the new patch.
Yeah, actually, it's been Hydra, 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 more Hydra.
Yeah, or mech. So it's going to be interesting seeing as when the Banelings have that new and improved health boost whenever like that layer comes down. But otherwise, this is going to start off exactly like you would expect.
Ooh, and, you know, he just picked up those units to go drop across the map. So on one hand, Leenock's not going to have a whole lot to defend. He's got enough, but TY doesn't have anything.
Well, he's getting Hellions. Like, he was adding in that little bit of a twist, the 2-1-1, that could have definitely killed Leenock without Banelings. Unfortunately, his Hellions get stuck on the ramp, though.
Oh, the medevac almost goes down, but it manages to barely escape. That Widow Mine got 8 really perfect Ling hits, frankly. Baits to the bunker on the other side of the map, and looks like TY is going to stabilize. This was not as messy as I thought it was going to be. In fact, one worker dies between 2 players.
But what's important, of course, is that TY's army was reduced and the Hellions were scouted. So Leenock shouldn't be nearly as surprised. Like, you don't have to build Banelings against a typical 2-1-1 in the 3rd CC. Just Lings and Queens will do it. But against Hellbats, you absolutely need Banelings or Roaches. So hopefully he gets at least a few, and he does. He already has, I think, 4.
He's continuing Hellion production. And I'm wondering if, like, first off, I expected more Widow Mines, right? Like, that first Widow Mine popped off. Widow Mines are just good in general versus Banelings. But to go Hellion specifically is really weird. Hellbats kind of prove that while they do have a place against Banelings, that is still not the best option most of the time. In fact, these aren't even Hellbats. They're still just Hellions. There we go.
In terms of like an all-in or dedicated attack early on, they usually are pretty good. But the Banelings are prepared. Leenock's been prepared for this since that drop.
Yeah, they don't have that bonus in health yet either. No Baneling boost upgrade. So we're gonna, I guess, try and make that a thing.
Yeah, try and make the thing.
Make this meme.
They do have upgrades almost done. The
splits though.
So good.
Oh, TY is so sick.
Run. Oh, some decent ones. Oh dear.
There's only really Queens remaining. Flooding in with a couple more Banelings. The Lings are starting to spawn out. I mean, +1 melee is going to finish shortly, so upgrade's going to be 1-1 over TY. As he falls back from this, I still feel like he traded out really well.
Yeah, well, considering that I think any other Terran would have just, like, tried to move in, kind of split, and just get pushed back immediately, he lasted a really long time, and that is important, because TY needs to make up for a lot of things. Like, he added in that factory in the Italian production is actually a big deal, because it did delay the 3rd CC in upgrades. Usually you're behind upgrades like 30 seconds. This is like a full upgrade.
That's going to sting a lot, actually, yeah. I wish they got here to repair this medevac too, by the way. Thank you, Dire Turtle, for the 100 bits. Cheers, is this thing working? Yeah, we finally have bits enabled on BaseTradeTV. Took half a year, but it's happening. 3rd CC, I thought was actually flooded over. My mistake, I didn't realize it was building on location, so TY is really behind. You mentioned that this was the sacrifice for the Hellions, and it's stinging. It's certainly showing.
Yeah. He's going to have to continue making up the game, basically, with good medevac drops and pressure that doesn't actually come at a cost. Which I think TY can certainly do, but he's not really prepared to do like that one scary follow-up push that actually might be able to kill a base or the Zerg in general. I don't think he has that potential, but he can certainly kill a couple of drones and stop Leenock from advancing too far forward too quickly. Actually, funnily enough, Leenock... So, like, skipping Baneling speed for some time is not, like, too surprising in the old patch, because Ultra is good, right? But first of all, it's Baneling boost now, right? So they get better with the Baneling speed and health. Oh, some sort of medevac. But also, Ultras aren't as good as they were. So, like, getting there as fast as possible might not actually be, like, the thing to do.
We haven't actually seen Ultras in the new patch yet, but for those who don't know, Kaida's plating was taken down a notch, but the base armor on the Ultras was increased a bit to make up for it. And in a game where TY is so far behind in upgrades, base level Ultralists might actually be really good.
Yeah, maybe. I actually don't know, but it's curious that this looks very much like, you know, they're just doing what they always did, even though they're using, well, Leenock is using units that have been changed. I guess TY is not using any units. The Liberator has been changed. The anti-air is no longer nearly as effective against Mutalisk, but that's not an issue.
Well, Overlord sending up to the left side with some Lings. Maybe get some drop harass. I mean, I like the idea behind this, and Leenock has been, I will say, like one of the more creative Zerg players. Not quite. He's like a 5 out of 10 on the TLO scale. So doing a little bit of abstract tactics, and I like the idea of continued drops.
I don't even think TLO's been that creative, to be honest. Like, Leenock was more creative than TLO, certainly.
No, how dare you?
Oh, my bad. Well, the Widow Mines aren't exactly getting the shots that they wanted. They still got a couple Baneling hits, of course, with the Overseer there.
Not bad trades still, though. Drop does go off in main while this happens, so Drone's going to get caught off guard, and maybe he'll even be able to kill the Ultralisk Cavern, depending on how long it takes Leenock to respond, because Leenock is busy defending against the drop still on this side. Queen's creating an actual physical wall. The Banelings cannot move through it and touch those Marines. But looks like response time is good, and he barely saves that Ultralisk Cavern. Barely.
Yeah, it's pretty low. Ling's hitting the main base, however, and distributing TY's minerals. Getting, I guess, a few SCVs, not devastating amounts, but just more like taking TY's eyes off of his attack.
For the drops and the harass that have gone down this game, relatively low workers have died on either side.
That's true.
Oh, he's got to stop those Banelings. And he should be good. Cost him a few Hellbats to do so, but could have been much worse. Again, worker kills here relatively low, 7-11. Let's grab a Slurpee, guys.
There's no okay, that's one thing the 7-Elevens are missing here. Slurpees.
I know, I noticed that. The first night we were there, we went to that 7-Eleven. That's what I looked for, the slushy machines, immediately.
They got everything else, so, I mean, it's a trade.
They have baked yams. Like, what's up with that? No Slurpees, but baked yams? Hello?
Yeah, I don't know what it is with baked yams in Korea. I was surprised with that, too.
Okay, so that's a really big attack coming down here. He's not quite set up in the choke to stop this. Maybe a couple more Hellbats than he would be, but he's going to continue with the Doom drop towards the main. 3 medevacs, 4 Liberators to escort them in. He's got to hold back at home. Command Center lifts, barely getting saved, just in the nick of time.
These upgrades, I think, are really shining through, too. There was, like, a ton of bio there, but they were entire upgrade behind, so they didn't actually look that impressive.
Right, I mean, this is the thing where it's actually almost level 3 upgrades versus 1-1 out of TY. And let's not forget, those Ultras are going to have Chitinous Plating. That's a hell of a lot of Queens with a hell of a lot of Transfuses. They got no problem setting underneath these Liberators.
Some of them are dying, though. Okay, 2 is not so bad. So I was surprised any died.
The drop on the top left did pretty well, actually, and even picked up to go to the third base afterwards. That being said, I mean, at this point, TY's got to know his upgrades are just garbage in comparison, right? Like, 2-2 just finished up. We're going to have 3-3 finishing shortly for Leenock, and Chitinous Plating's done. So these Ultralisks, I believe it's 1 less armor overall than what they had in the past. So, still, pretty big behemoths of units.
Yes, that is exactly the case. So they're still scary, but they're not quite the timer. That means game over. And even if it was the old patch, because they're playing basically like the old patch, TY is kind of prepared for it. Like, he's been getting Liberators. Obviously, they died in that Queen attack. That kind of sucked. But he's preparing for the late game. It's just is unfortunate that as much as he's trying to get the good units for the late game, he's not getting a big enough army for it.
Yeah, what is a real shame is we don't have... Oh, God, that's scary. Any tanks. And tanks would actually be pretty fantastic nowadays against Ultras.
That's a good point. But I would prefer tanks over Liberators.
I think so too in this scenario. I mean, I like that there's still Widow Mines coming out to help deal with the Banelings and Lings. And maybe tanks would or wouldn't be better because of the Lings, and that's why he's worried about going for them. But I feel Liberators just haven't been showing excellence in this particular game.
Yeah. It's like, and Leenock has responded to Liberators. You know, it's not a case of him derping Ultras into 10 Liberators. He went for Corruptors, so I definitely think tanks would be the way to go. Now, if he got tanks, then Leenock would probably get Vipers, and that's a whole, you know, it's the ebb and flow of TvZ, but I still think that the tanks are going to be very good against Ultras.
2 Marines in the natural base have been going ham for a bit of time, as nothing's been there to clean them up. They haven't done much in terms of damage, but they've been attacking everything. Finally goes down to this Queen. Widow Mines in the main got some pretty nice kills on them, but ultimately will get cleaned up. Thank you to LeMonstra1357 for the 1-year sub. Time to get your Partoof, man. In real life, and Vivek Area 52 for the 100 bits. Hell, it's about time.
Thank you. Well, that greater Spire's on the way, so that's another, I guess, issue if he did try and swap over the tanks. He wouldn't have all the Brood Lords.
If this was already a planetary, actually, this wouldn't be too bad of a fight to take, but it's not. He's forced to left. Queens are here. They can push that back, and those Lings and Banelings are actually still high enough in number that the Ultralisks have got cover. Queens have got Transfuses, and while he's sitting in range of the Liberators, it's not really mattering.
Well, he does take away all the, or most of the Ling fodder. This last Widow Mine's going to help out, and if he goes back to the Liberators, the Ultras will die. But it's game, like, either way, right? I've been doing so far.
TY did some really cool maneuvers. He started dancing around the map, you know, the drop on the top left, attacks in the main. But the upgrades kept him so low for so long, and Unfortunately, I don't think he ever really got to get his army up because of that. Had he traded better and more Marines lived through each of these engagements, maybe that'd be a bit different. But either way, game number 1 out of the way. We'll hop to game 2 here pretty quick. Leenock going to be hosting Echo. Very nice.
All right.
By the way, Fricey, if you're hearing this on stream, I'll try and keep an eye on chat, man, but do you have an idea of who you want us to cast next? I know you were trying to pass off the idea. I wasn't really paying too much attention beyond that, so... with the brackets being kind of out of whack, let me know as soon as you possibly can, because chances are we're going to have to message with these guys like before we're even out of the next game. Echo's a map that actually has a pretty nice 3-base setup. I would hope to see something good out of TY this game.
Yeah, I mean, so much of that last game was the fact that his not quite all in, but very dedicated attack was scouted. It's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be too much of a trick of like, okay, they 2-on-1 is so predictable. You're not going to deal with that. Oh shit, Italians too. So it's not supposed to be scouted.
Well, uh-oh, don't crash on me, StarCraft. There's no reason for you to do this.
Did it, like, blink for you?
Yeah, it went to, like, a white screen for a second.
Oh, I didn't go for a white screen, but it kind of, like, blinked black. Weird.
Holy hell, that delay. Yeah, we have to use a pretty big delay. It's IEM and ESL rules, guys. They don't want any cheating whatsoever. I think it's safe to say most of the players we cast on the regular are nobody who would stream cheat anyways, but there are a couple out there who would, so just completely ruling out the option for anybody to do it. Unfortunately, standard practice. Wish we didn't have to use a delay, but it is what it is, guys, in order to bring you these games. In the bottom right side of Echo, we do have the red Zerg player kicking it off. Up 1-0 in the series, it's Leenock.
In the top left, as the blue Terran, is TY.
Okay, so for Leenock, yes, there was ultras. It was almost watching somebody playing the old patch of the game. Like, there really wasn't anything too new and too crazy utilized. But I liked it, and it looked like a pretty solid game. And the scary thing for me wasn't so much like the ultras coming out, and it's not that they were unkillable or the queens had infinite transfuses, but it was little things like the drop in the main killing a lot of SCVs. Both players that game had no workers lost for like almost like 15 minutes. Then they both just broke, and like 27 drones dead on one side, 28 SCVs dead on the other. Like, it just exploded in kills.
As good as it is to see a T-Rex Reaper opener, but as good as it was to see the TvZ, you know, Bio versus Ling Baneling, I really wish that TY had adapted to the new patch. Like, he obviously was going to go for an all-in, and you can do that whether or not something's been buffed or not, as long as it's a surprise. But it didn't work, and I hope that this game would be something different. Like, basically, I want him to go for tanks. Okay, whatever he does, I want to see tanks, and I want to see how effective they are. We couldn't really get to see how effective Leenock, you know, the Baneling upgrade is, because by the time, you know, it was done, TY was no longer focus firing Banelings in, like, small engagements.
Well, that's true, yeah. He was relying a lot on World Mines, possibly getting the hits to save him.
Yeah, it just, you know, after, like, 150 supply, it's going to be very difficult to snipe Banelings.
Talking on the topic of tanks for you, though, I mean, we've seen these 3 racks openers lead into 3 CC follow-ups and be an actual macro game, not dedicated all in. I like tanks for a couple of different reasons, but one of the things for me is that without Blinding Clouds, tanks are like the best thing in the game. But the second Blinding Clouds come into play, tanks are not so great. Like, they really have a 100 or 0 dynamic to them.
It comes down to having enough tanks, which has always been a problem with tank styles. Like, it's not like no one knew how to deal with tanks, just as like a complication of, you know, the game, that it sometimes is not possible to get to 7 or 8 tanks. But if you get to 7 or 8 tanks, you're still going bio, and you can spread them. Then Vipers, yeah, look at good Blinding Clouds, but the tanks are still effective enough. So the question is, does TY, if he does go for tanks, go for double factory tanks? Does he hit before Hive is done? Does Leenock go too quickly to Hive? All questions, you know, we might even get answered, because Leenock's still trying to defend this with Speedlings, which is a very, like, delicate way of defending against the Rex Reaper.
I mean, on one hand, it's unfortunate they lost one of the Reapers early on, but on the other side, he killed like 8 Lings right off the bat, and that's a pretty big deal. Queens actually pop out, and this is a little bit scary for the Reapers. Lots of dragons to slay in terms of queens.
Yeah. That might just be it. I mean, Echo is not terrible for 3-Bags Reaper. Obviously, it has 2 locations to hop up on, but one of those locations is very limited, and the other one's like not that big anyway. So like not terrible, but definitely not good. Like it's actually it's borderline bad. But of course, TY was more looking for that early harassment combined with the safe expansion because he could wall off the front with 3 barracks. Okay, well he doesn't. Oh.
I didn't know you could do this with 3 barracks, by the way, on its own. I actually, believe it or not, I played a ladder game today. What?
Oh shit, Leenock's gonna Baneling bust him. I don't think this is a good idea. I don't think I've seen a Baneling bust work against Reaper openers.
If the Reapers catch them out open, certainly not. They'll get some free grenade hits off, and the Banelings will be dead before they even connect. But maybe Leenock's also assuming that TY is going for 3 CC behind this. That's standard practice. This is not so much though. The double engineering bay, it's almost like a little bit greedy. TY's got production. He's gonna have units out. Don't get me wrong, but I think Leenock's really hoping to catch him before anything hits its stride. Because like technically a Baneling bust could work, but I agree. I don't think it's a good idea.
Leenock did scout that the barracks moved, because that was the other big question mark. It's like, okay, if Leenock knows there's 3 barracks, why would you Baneling bust? But there's not. There's actually not a wall anywhere. And that is a big deal. There's not even a wall on the main base. He didn't supply depot off that main ramp. Like, this is actually big, and the Marines are all clumped up, prepared against Ling floods, but not Banelings.
He's got to get behind the barracks, that's for certain. And he's got to use this. I love the engineering bay coming down. That's going to soak a lot of hits, but it's still not going to stop the Banelings. There's no full wall off at the front, so they can walk right around this. Ling's going to get that surrounded. This doesn't look good for TY. No, this actually looks really bad. This looks game-endingly bad.
It does. Wow, Leenock winning with a Baneling bust against 3-Axe Reaper.
Well,
I mean, a lot of that had to do with TY's not having a wall.
It's not actually over yet, though, is the funny thing. Part of this is that the Banelings are gone, and yeah, CV's die, but it's 3 CC, right? Like, you can actually recover from this.
Yeah,
it's actually Leenock who's going to tap out. GG.
I'm surprised that Leenock tapped out, because he did have 20 more Lings on the way. I think they could have surrounded the Reapers, but it was a question of, like, does he kill the entire natural mineral line and get into the main base? And I guess he thought he couldn't get in the main base. So, okay, still holds true then. I've never seen a Baneling bust work against a 3-Axe Reaper.
Yeah. That got a little bit scary, but yeah, held on well. So, ties it up 1-1. We'll go to game 3 here in a moment. Probably skip past the ads for now. And again, I guess the way we resolved to do this is Fricey wants to delegate. He says, make Daybreak, please. Nice.
Oh, okay.
The way I guess we're delegating this, Fricey wants chat to pick the next match. So we've asked Bobble Convolute to make a straw poll for you guys to vote in, and that's how we'll try and determine what series we go to next. I mean, I really don't even know what to do with a $1,000 donation, dude. Like, plus you donated like $200 before. That's really Fricey donated like $1,200 tonight. Like, what the fuck?
It's pretty crazy. Big dollars.
So I'm hoping the straw poll will make him happy. Just gotta get Alicia in here, and I think we're good to go. All right, so Bobble's straw poll he made, and the players picked on the straw poll aren't guaranteed because ESL may grab them. But the players picked here are Live, Maru, Trap, Innovation, Snoot, and Neeb. But didn't Trap get 2-0'd by Rogue?
Where's Alicia?
That was that game we cast earlier. I don't think Trap's an option. So don't vote for Trap, guys.
Okay, ready?
Yeah. All right, so Daybreak. We'll take a look at that straw poll after this game and try and determine where we're at, guys. So take a moment to vote when you get the chance. But let's hop into game.
Well,
I voted for Snoot for whatever that's worth. Who did you vote for?
I didn't vote.
Oh.
I abstained.
You
Just
abstained.
kidding. I'll vote now.
I feel like Snoot or Innovation are probably the best ones on that list. Personally, Maru as well, of course, but I feel like ESL is going to take Maru.
You know what? Well, they've been following Innovation so far. I'm going to go with Neeb.
Okay.
It's not voting.
Folks, we're getting into game number 3. Things are tied up now 1-1, and in the bottom left side of Daybreak, we've got the blue Zerg player, Leenock.
In the top right, as the red Terran, is TY.
Okay, so I don't really know what to make of that last game to lead up to this one. On one hand, you're like, cool, TY won the game. But also, was it necessarily his fault for winning, so to speak. Like,
This is
Leenock,
fault.
you could argue almost through by going for the banling choice.
Yeah. It was so just weird to see banling busts. Like, they have not worked since I've seen anyway. And the only way that they would work is if they literally like killed every single unit and then got into both bases, which was like actually possible because TY let them into both bases by not having a wall, but although the army didn't die, and I guess, you know, that's what has to happen. So
Well,
I don't know when Leenock does work against that, because maybe it does work occasionally, and maybe we'll try it again since TY's T-Rex Reapering.
yeah, you know what they say, Zombie Grub, if it's not broken, don't fix it.
He's like, fuck that macro game shit.
Yeah, what
Thing
is
is, Daybreak
macro?
does not 3-rack wall off.
It will with a depot, though, which is funny because I guess he could put his first depot down and had a full wall off.
Yeah. I mean, I guess obviously last game he didn't care that much about having wall off, so maybe it's not a problem. There you go.
Nice. It's like the three older brothers and like the younger brother as far as buildings
There's seriously no good reason to do this, by the way. Like, you think of like some other clever maps that you see, like Frost, for instance. You get the surprise factor by having a 4-player map, and you can wall off very easily in the natural wall. Okay, that kind of makes sense. Obviously, you know, the other maps that were very popular for it, like Galactic Process, obvious reasons. Echo, no good Reaper jump up spots, and pretty long map. Daybreak, you can't wall off with 3 barracks at the front, and there's still not that many great Reaper jump up parts of the map.
Yeah, it's all going to be
It's just a
focused
good-
on the front of the base.
The good reason to do this is basically just, you know, the Reapers will force a reaction. It's the only reason they can think of, which means that they're not bad. It just is very funny to see him go for twice 2x Reaper on these maps.
It's like the less like complimentary
I
to
knew
Reaper
they didn't wall
maps.
off. It's like, that
Well,
was suspicious. Come
It
on
is now, Zombie Grub, okay?
I just figured he's gonna wait for a tech lab or something.
I actually feel like you could have walled that off, though, if you just moved one of the barracks over. Like, that second barracks in the middle was moved
You
over
might-
by 1 grid point. I think it's a wall off.
You might be right. Well, anyway.
Not important for the time being. It is walled off now, and I guess that's all that matters at the end of the day. However, using the extra 100 minerals this early kind of sucks. Did delay the command center just a bit. But here's the real question. How much dedication goes to these Reapers? I'd say he could make even another round of them before it's too much, because he could still make a 3rd CC.
Yeah, totally. Now, this is funny. I mean, I brought up TvZ on Daybreak when we were watching the PvZ on Daybreak, and I said that if this was Wings of Liberty, we could basically just call it, like, from start to finish. But, of course, in Legacy of the Void, very different. We already have a different opener with 3x Reaper. The issue of Daybreak that still exists, though, no matter what, you know, meta of the game is, what composition you're going for, either, like mech or bio, is that the 3rd base does get a little bit tricky to defend against. It's, like, kind of far away. And a center tower was almost always necessary for it, because with Needling Bling, we just like choose which path to go, and if you didn't know, you weren't in position.
Yeah, and on that note, we actually saw some Terran players. I remember Jockshi and some others specifically start taking this base as their 3rds just because the watchtower felt more valuable, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
That was such a
The
long
only
time
downside
ago.
to that, yeah, the only downside to that was the complete surround option, because of course the big reason why you would be out of position was that your tanks had to be pre-siege, which we're now back to being the case if TY goes for tanks.
Yeah, he's been not too keen to go for them so far, but still emphasis goes on the bio. I do want to point out, by the way, 2 combat shields got prioritized here instead of stim. Combat shields is not necessarily a defensive upgrade. In fact, if you want to go across the map with units that won't die easily because you have no medevacs, combat shields 10 health on all these marines actually ends up being a way better upgrade in that regard.
Yeah, that's correct. It usually did mean you're just being defensive, but we've also been seeing a lot of like weird attacks. I don't mind the idea of a weird combat shield attack because, you know, Leenock is like, okay, defended 3x Reaper, you know, he's probably going for 3 CC, he's probably not going to push into me, and he might be a little too greedy because of that, but what we know is that Leenock is not being too greedy, so I don't know if I like this push. He's got Banelings, he's got Lings. And I think that Overlord barely stopped it.
I'm really not sure if the Banelings will work here, though. With so many Reapers having lived early, 8 of them left, not only can they focus fire on the Banelings pretty easily, but they're going to have the grenades. Keep everything in the air and off the Marines.
Yeah.
Ideally.
Leenock certainly has to take this seriously, so like definitely make more lings. Don't just think, oh, I'm gonna deal with this fine and go back into droning.
I really like that he's cleaning up creep too for this. Pretty big deal considering right now he doesn't have a good place to fight him, but he will in a few seconds. As he tries to fall back, the Reaper's gonna have to scatter.
Ooh.
Marines get some okay damage done, but TY's already been pushed back off this attack.
Well, I like that TY was able to leave and did leave, but I was owing because Leenock used 4 or 5 Banelings on a Marauder. I think if he doesn't do that, I think he can get us around, but... Well, TY, as long as he didn't lose the entire army for that, is fine.
So he's going to take this as his third. I think like it was really interesting watching the evolution of this matchup. I'm not sure if it's just frustration or the realization that the Watchtower was so powerful, but this really did become like a key third base towards the end of Daybreak's time.
Yep, it did. Now, because, again, like the option of a full surround is available, especially when you break down the rocks, as you have these speedy Banelings and speedy Lings to try and do that with. But I don't know if that's really what Leenock's going to be looking to do. He is not upgrading, and he's not getting a Spire, so like a Ling Baneling flood to surprise TY, that's something Zergs do, and that's something Leenock does too. But I'm still holding off on saying that's what it is, yeah, because 2-2 does start. It just didn't seem like he had enough Lings to really hit that timing. Infestation Pit, there you go, no Spire.
I just want to point out too, while maybe this is Ultras again, and maybe this looks like Overgrowth, this is still a situation where fungal growths are pretty good against Bio. And when you consider Infestors can cast everything well burrowed, kind of very scary units right now. In fact, very balance-windingly scary units.
Oh yeah, I've got the Infestors. I mean, clearly these guys aren't, like, experimenting with the new and improved units. Leenock technically is, he's got Banelings with speed, but I don't think it was on purpose.
Okay, it was not that many Banelings here. He's pretty well spread out, but the Lings try and get on top of this and capitalize. Both players on 1-1 for upgrades, so no disadvantage here for TY, but... Oh, wow. 8 seconds to go on Sim. That's the army just disappearing. Oh my god.
That timing, though. Oh my goodness.
That
was...
Leenock,
that wasn't the all-in, that doesn't have any upgrades or, an infestation pit, like a backup plan here. This is game.
Well, so timing was perfect, and that was a little bit luck more than anything else. But what's so scary to look at was like TY was so well spread out. He was ready for that engagement. If he had 2 or 3 extra seconds, that may have been a very different fight.
Yeah, I think it is. I think he's actually prepared for it with Sim otherwise. But while the game didn't end right there, he got like a good chunk of the army. He's on 4 bases. He's on his way to Hive. Momentum, like, was already, I think, a little bit in favor of Leenock. Is now like really in favor of him. He's going to continue attacking.
Scumbag Widowmines just friendly fired the hell out of TY's army. No lift on this base is real bad. He's going to lose the command center at this rate. It's on fire.
Yeah. Now, if TY saves the command center and just holds up for a couple of seconds, I think he can actually have a decent army. But he's going to have to take an engagement before that's quite ready to go. Tries to focus on the Baneling, but there's a 10 health. Oh, what am I?
Widowmine got an okay hit, but there's still this problem of a lot of Lings and nothing can really get here. He's trying to repair that command center after all. More SCVs need to come and keep it alive. 11 have died through this.
Yep. Upgrades did finish up. I mean, the good news is TY, the stim timing really ruined him here, but his upgrade timings aren't that bad. But again, that momentum, like, he is busy defending, repairing a 3rd command center, not even thinking about a 4th quite yet. There's no way he's going to stop the Ultras from coming out.
Yeah, but unlike classic Terran games where it became about stopping the Ultras, maybe TY's thinking about fighting them? Although, I hesitate to say that because he doesn't have a lot of tech labs. He doesn't really have Marauder production. Oh, man, this is so many Marines and not that many Banelings. Honestly, with their positioning, TY's not taking too bad of a trade.
Yeah, Leenock getting a little too eager to end the game there. So pulls back. He has a ton of time, though. The creep spread's kind of bad. I guess that's one nice thing about TY's position, is that he doesn't have a lot of creep spread to clean up, and he's trying to go for a drop in the main base. But the Hive is done. Ultraless Cavern's done. Spire is already on the way in case Liberators did get out of hand. Leenock's just missing gas right now because he didn't saturate his 4th base for so long.
So just a quick reminder that for this qualifier, guys, top 4 players get through. There are going to be 3 nights of qualifiers in total. So we are actually surprisingly already close to the end of the qualifier.
Yeah. Well, this army is actually looking pretty good. Like, if TY could have just hold up for a while, his production was still decent even on what was like 2 bases. And he has an opportunity to deal some pretty significant damage, but even killing a 4th base, does that make up for Leenock's advantage in tech here? If once he gets gas, that's his main problem right now, he'll get ultras and corruptors. Replacing a hatchery is not a big deal either. He is banking quite a few minerals.
Yeah, and when you're already in hive tech, the minerals are not as precious either. Woodamine's going to try and burrow and maybe get some okay hits on these lings, but I feel like even if these get amazing hits on the lings, there's just still so many behind this. TY trying to use SimCity there. I really like that, like placing between the depots. He's got these marines inside these medevacs. He wants to unload, but this is so scary with the banelings right there. SCV is getting picked up instead. It's probably the smarter choice. But this does mean TY is no longer mining off that 3rd, and he needs money all kinds of bad.
Yeah, he's pretty all in on 3 bases too, so the fact that it's not quite 3 bases is a big deal. It would have been a little worrying if he had a 4th CC already down and he was still on like 60 SCVs and Leenock is overcommitting to attacks like this.
He kills the top left, by the way.
Yeah, maybe the drops do too much damage, but even killing the base still isn't that devastating. This drop gets cleaned up and TY is just... His supply isn't representative of what actually is happening in this game. Like, it's not doing so hot.
No, but at the same time, like, Leenock is starting to throw away quite a few units. TY, who should be really, really far behind, actually isn't insanely out of the game. I mean, still behind, no doubt in my mind. But with all these trades he's been taking better engagements for, he's not looking so bad.
Yeah, but they've all been defensive, and that's really on Leenock for giving away those units like he did.
Exactly.
Like, trying to end the game and sell out the 3rd base, which... Even though he doesn't win the game, he is doing damage by lifting that 3rd base. And it's just like, TY's never going to get to move out. Never. I'm pretty sure.
That's the main moving over to become the 4th too. So really stretching it thin now for the Terran player. As TY does have some Liberators set up, there's not really that much anti-air, but the Corruptors, despite being low in number, might be more than enough to take them out. Marines will be very preoccupied running around on the ground. They won't necessarily be ready to shoot up.
Yeah. Corruptors aren't dealing with their Liberators that quickly, so the Ultras are going down here.
Yeah, despite having 7 armor, some damage going into them, and Liberators get a decent job for it. Again, Leenock takes a bad fight. He trades out for some SCVs, but loses so much of his army to do so. Resources lost are still looking pretty similar, but you got to consider, for TY, it's losing Marines versus losing Ultralists. Like, one of these units is really easy to replace.
Potentially focus firing the Overseers?
I guess to take out the Widow, or make it more viable for the Widow Mines to just kind of chill?
Yeah, I guess so. I thought he was focusing on the Corruptors, and I realized that wasn't the case.
If he is focused right now, if he was doing it specifically for the Widow Mines, I actually really like that move. Now, here's the problem, guys. Marines, even well upgraded, still barely deal with like 1 damage to these Ultralisks at a time. I think they'll do 2 damage a shot with +3 weapons, but still, these are going to be tough units to kill. GG's going to get called. Leenock takes the series 2-1. Now we get the intricate dance of trying to find another match. With the brackets being so heavily out of date and not updated, we don't really know who's playing against who.
Right?
But looking at the straw poll right now, it seems like the order of operations is Snoot and Maru tied, followed by Neeb. So we'll try and find a Snoot or Maru game, and hopefully that'll make you guys happy. We'll go to commercial break while we get this sorted, though, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more of the IEM Qualifiers when we return.